It's important that those of us who are neurodiverse talk about our neurodiversity and our success in life and our careers publicly, because that inspires the next generation and gives them hope. That is the main reason why I made a video 6 years ago called ADHD Story of a Google Employee. This is one of my videos that has the most views, and I get the most emails about. I get random people emailing me asking about this and wanting to meet and wanting to talk and asking questions and stuff. So this video is pretty old. It's 6 years old, and I feel compelled to give kind of an update on this because a lot has changed in the last 6 years. My views on my career have significantly changed, like looking back at some of what happened and some of how I was able to succeed. And also, my diagnosis has changed. So I think it's really important that I be open and transparent about some of this, because it does, in fact, impact what happened in my career and how I was able to succeed. So first of all, I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 7 years old, but I didn't know it and I didn't have an understanding of it. It was just something like my mom knew about, and it wasn't something that I was taught about or understood. Like, I kind of got a sense of this, like had conversations with my mom about it in high school, but I was on medication for a while, but they took me off of it. Anyway, it's a long story. But when I went into college, I was really, really struggling. I was failing classes, and I, talked to my mom about this. I'm like, hey, wasn't I diagnosed with that ADHD thing? And so I went on this like binge of reading books and trying to gather as much information as I could about ADHD and try and understand it. I ended up getting a re-diagnosis of it so I could get access to accommodations in school. But here's what's changed since my last video. I've actually been diagnosed with autism, mild autism, kind of what they used to call Asperger's. So it does impact me socially. I had a lot of social difficulties. I talked about this in the previous video, which don't watch, by the way, because it's very cringe. But if you already watched it, probably, that's why you're watching this one. But at least don't watch the first 20 seconds, because the first 20 seconds are very cringe. Anyway, the reason why I think it's so important for those of us who are neurodiverse and had success in our careers and in our lives that we speak up is because when you first get that diagnosis and you're young, you're kind of basically presented with the fact that you're disabled and there's no upside to being neurodiverse. And the statistics and all the information about it is just talking about all the negatives and all the ways that it's like hard to manage and how you're going to be disadvantaged, which you are, but there's also some advantages too. And so I really want to spend some time talking about that in this video. This is my way of paying it forward, because when I was first coming to terms with my diagnosis, I read stories from other people who succeeded in spite of their neurodiversity, whether it was dyslexia or ADHD. And so that was really impactful for me as a young person, like learning about my diagnosis and knowing that, like, hey, there is some hope here. So that's why I feel like this video is important. Like I said, I was diagnosed with autism in the last few years, and that really was a light bulb moment for me, because if you watched my other video, I talk a lot about how I really had a lot of social difficulty. And while social difficulty is kind of a thing with ADHD, it doesn't really explain how I was really struggling with being bullied and making friends and that kind of thing. It really, that all came from the autism. Some of the lectures that Dr. Russell Barkley, who's a leading researcher on ADHD, he talks about how, like, really the social impact is that ADHD people are just like too emotive, and that's why people don't want to associate with you or make friends, which kind of made sense to me, but just didn't really explain my experience. I was struggling socially because I just didn't know how to connect with other people, how to make friends, what are the things I'm supposed to do, what are the social expectations. And so it was, and also I was very gullible. I took people's word at face value when in reality, people actually lie all the time, and they have their own objectives for what it is they want to do. And unfortunately, that has led to me having some I was taken advantage of with some of my friendships, like people that pose themselves as friends were not actually looking out for my best interest. Let's just say I would not treat my own friends the way that I was treated in some of these cases. So real quick recap of my career. I went to San Jose State University. I studied there for 6 years and got a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Animation and Illustration. In my last year there, I was an intern at Google, and I got that internship because I had someone refer me for a job there. Like I knew someone who had just joined, and he gets a referral bonus if he refers someone that gets hired. So he's like referring all his friends. And so I got referred. I did an interview, and they liked me, but they were like concerned, like, hey, you haven't finished college yet. So I was able to contact the person who interviewed me, because he had asked me in the interview, like, hey, have you ever done any icons, like created icons at all? Because it was a web, kind of like a graphic design job. And so I did something really smart. I'm like, I didn't have that in my portfolio, but I'm like, hey, I actually have done icons. I can email them to you. And so that was an opportunity where I could have this person's contact info. So I emailed him the icons, and a few months, I didn't get the job because for various reasons, but a few months later, I asked, like, hey, are there any internship opportunities? And he's like, let me get back to you. And like a week or two later, he's like, yeah, we can do an internship this summer. And I'm like, great. So I got an internship, and I actually interned there for a year until I graduated and got a full-time job lined up. Like after the summer, actually, I had an offer for a full-time job. So I was at Google for 13 years. In 2019, I left Google. So at Google, I started as a graphic designer and then started doing illustration work. I did the Google Doodles. I was one of a team of illustrators that did those doodles that appeared on the homepage. So I did that for a few years, then moved into web design, and then moved into web development, which is mostly what I did when I was there. I did a lot of JavaScript coding. I was a tech lead for a JavaScript component library. So I was mentoring and leading other engineers to work on the code that was used across all of Google's marketing pages for a component library, basically. So I was writing a lot of JavaScript. So that was really fun. And I learned a lot while I was there. But in 2019, I left because I wanted to pursue my own business full time, and that's PaperDemon. PaperDemon is an online art role-playing game community where we motivate and inspire artists to create. It's a collaborative art game where we give artists a story for them to draw their original characters interacting in and fighting monsters and that kind of thing. It's a lot of fun. So if you're an artist, check it out. This was a chance for me to merge together two of my core skills, which are coding, web development, and art. So I could use them together, which was great. But reflecting back and looking at my career and my strengths and how those strengths helped me, I think a lot of those strengths actually came from being autistic, because I think one of the main reasons why I got into Google was because I not only had the illustration skills they were looking for, but because of the way the team was set up, you also had to pass a technical interview. So basically, the illustrators were expected to have technical knowledge at the time. It's much different now than it was, back when I joined. But for whatever reason, they expected you to also be have some tech coding skills. So I actually had to do 2 tests. They gave you, at the time, they would give you a test like, okay, build a marketing page for Google's features, and they'd give you a broken page that had like all these HTML errors in it, and they're like, here, fix this or redesign it or whatever. So I redesigned it, put in better code, put in better graphics, whatever, and they really liked that. But then they also gave me an illustration test. I had to build something in Adobe Illustrator or something. I had to make an icon. They're like, here's a copy of what it looks like, what it should look like, and you make the file and then send it. And that's partly how I got in. So I had this like dual set of skills that most people don't have. Like, it's kind of rare. I'm basically what's referred to as a unicorn, where I have like this mishmash of of visual design and illustration skills and coding, which there's not a lot of people who can do both. And that's very desirable for a company because you're very versatile. Also very appealing for a startup, by the way. Now, here is how my autism influenced all of this. People who are autistic tend to be very focused on wanting to do one thing that they really like, which also seems counter to what ADHD is, right? Like with ADHD, you have a really hard time focusing. But if it's something that you like, you can kind of sustain that attention, right? But if it's like paperwork or whatever, it's really hard to do, right? But the difference with being autistic is you tend to get very like obsessed and kind of forgo social interaction to do the things that you like to do. And that is why I was able to do well, because I was spending significantly more time making things, building things, gaining skills than the competition. And I would come into different teams at Google with already a lot of experience and skill. And certainly there was a lot of skill that I didn't have that I had to learn on the job, but I was able to adapt to it quickly because I already had a lot of experience before I even got there, even though I was a new grad, because a lot of my time in college was spent coding. And I could say this with confidence that there's not a lot of candidates that do that. I think in terms of success, I really think that was core to my success, is just being really, really good and spending all my free time getting as good as I possibly could. And I didn't get good because I wanted to get a job at Google. That was not my motivation at all. It was just that I loved it so damn much and I was so passionate about it and I was so obsessed with it that I basically didn't want to do anything else. And that is still true today. Like, I love working. I love coding. I love building my art RPG. I love drawing. And I love the work. And when you are passionate and you love the work, you're kind of unstoppable. In terms of business, I certainly have a lot of weaknesses in running a business that I'm still learning and I'm taking courses on to help me to do things like marketing better and sales. And these are things that are important aspects of being an entrepreneur that you have to have in order to succeed. So there's definitely weaknesses that I'm trying to fill. But I come into this as already very experienced at coding. I could build this amazing platform for artists to draw and get inspired, and with cool mechanics and that no other art RPG has, because of my years and years of obsession with coding. And so if you are autistic, just know that level of just being so into something and so passionate about something that you don't want to socialize with other people and you just want to build things is a very valuable thing too. And I don't ever want to encourage people to just disregard their social lives, because that is important for our mental wellness. But if you are someone who just really wants to work and create and build things, that's okay. And you can succeed with that. And so that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this update, is because I didn't have an autism diagnosis at the time I did the last video. So I kind of made it sound like, hey, I succeeded because of in spite of my ADHD, but I actually, looking back, I think I succeeded because I'm autistic. I see autism definitely as a weakness, but also as a core strength of mine. I think that that's important to my story and needs to be said. So if I could go back in time and give advice to myself, and hopefully you watching this, I'm imparting my wisdom to you and you can feel a sense of hope. I want you to look at, even if the things that you are doing is not what everyone else is doing, see if that is a strength and be okay with who you are. Everyone has some things that they're good at and some things that they're bad at. And see, even if your things that you're good at are like nothing else that anyone else is doing, is there an opportunity for that to be your greatest strength? Don't just look at the statistics and the downsides and the things that non-autistic and non-ADHD people are telling you about your diagnosis and what it means for your future, because statistics are not the same thing as what's going to happen to an individual. You are an individual. Statistics are averages of groups of people. It's not a reflection of how you are going to live your life and what you are going to end up being. For a long time, I was very afraid that I was going to develop an addiction, because the rates of addiction for people who are ADHD is really high. And I have also family members who have struggled with certain addictions. And so I was always very afraid that I was going to experience something like that. So I was like very careful not to get into alcohol, drugs, that kind of thing. I'm not worried about that anymore. I'm in my 40s now. If it was going to happen, it would have happened already. So some additional advice that I think is worth saying. I spent way too much of my life, and this is a recent lesson that I'm kind of learning about myself. I spent too much of my life trying to be a people pleaser and being what other people expected me to do. And that slowly eroded my self-confidence and really ate at me and made it hard for me to be confident and happy, because I was failing at the expectations of others, because they had these neurotypical expectations of me that just weren't possible. And my values were very different from the other people that I was having difficulty with. And it especially came to a head when I decided to leave Google. I think a lot of people just didn't understand why I would walk away from such a good job. But you have to keep in mind, I was there a long time. I was there 13 years. I did love the work there, but I had a greater purpose. I wanted to go out there and inspire and motivate and support artists. And I couldn't really do that full-time by being at Google full-time. It was just not practical, especially since I also wanted to start a family. I have a son now, but there was just no way I could juggle a full-time tech job with a long commute and a child and a business. There was just no way to do all three of those things. So it made sense for me to leave Google, start my business, get it off the ground, and then start my family, which is what I ended up doing. I would have actually preferred to have started my family 10 years earlier, but it didn't happen for various reasons. Then I would have gotten great medical leave benefits and insurance, but that's not what happened. Whatever. Children are a lot of work, they take up a lot of your time. But anyway, I think actually having a kid changed a lot of my perspective on life, because having an infant is a lot of work. And I'm sure you've heard other people tell you that, but especially when you're neurodiverse, it's hard to be a parent. And it's also hard to be a woman, because there's just kind of like more expectation put on you versus, being a mom versus being a dad. And when you are also an entrepreneur and the mother of a toddler or an infant, it's a lot. And so my time was extremely limited, and I started to just really lose tolerance for bullshit. I could not handle people who were lying to me, wasting my time, not treating me with respect. I could not tolerate it anymore, because so much of my time was being invested in raising my child and providing him with the best life possible, that when I finally did have the time to focus on me, focus on my business, and I would get interrupted by something or someone who didn't align with my values, who was taking advantage of me or lying to me, I just could not tolerate it. And so over the last several years, I have started to just not put up with it and walk away. I just don't have the time, and I don't argue with people anymore. Like, Sometimes there's someone who says something about me or whatever online. Like, one of my fears with starting this business was about being canceled. Like, people saying mean shit, because I have the trauma from my childhood of being bullied. So being bullied online is a thing that happens especially to women, and especially to women who are in the gaming space or tech space. So because it's dominated by men who are misogynistic, it's the reality. But to my surprise, like, the people who watch my videos have all been great. Rarely do I get a mean comment, and if I do, it's like really lame. Like, come on, guys, get a little more creative. No, don't, please don't. The right people are in my community. I try really hard. My moderators try really hard. Shout out to my moderators on PaperDemon, by the way. The mod team does an excellent job in fostering a positive, uplifting, and supportive community. Like, we don't take bullshit. If there's people coming in and being nasty, fuck you guys. Get the fuck out. Like, we don't have time for this shit. People starting drama and that kind of thing, we don't have the time for this. We're too busy drawing our characters kissing to spend time dealing with drama. Get the fuck out, man. So if I could go kind of give myself some advice in the past, and it's hard too, because I heard this advice so many times, especially as an entrepreneur. You hear like, okay, there's going to be a lot of people who don't believe in you and don't support you, because a lot of people don't get it. Like, why would you leave a stable job that's paying you money to start something that may never make money? It's such a risk. Like, why would you do that? Like, it depends on what your values are, man. Like, if you value the love of your work and you value the impact that you're having, your decisions are much clearer. Like, for me, money is a resource. It is not the end all be all. It is a tool that I can use to grow my business or to support others or to hire people. It is not the ultimate goal in life to accumulate as much money as possible. So some people see it as like, okay, money is the most important thing. Spend all your time making money. But to me, it's not. Like, money is a tool that I use to grow my business, but it is not the ultimate goal in life for me. I want to enjoy the work that I'm doing, and I want to create. Those are the things that are important to me. I kind of went a little off topic there, but what I was trying to say is there's so much advice out there for entrepreneurs about being careful about who you keep in your company, because if you have people around you who don't understand you or why you're making the decisions that you are with your business, or even your decision to pursue a business, it can really erode at your self-confidence to continue to be surrounded with people who don't support you and don't believe in you. So I would say it's true even if you're not an entrepreneur. If you have people in your life who just don't have the same values as you in terms of what's important to you in your life and what your goals are, it will eat you from the inside out. So my advice is to not keep that company. And it's hard, especially when it's your family. But do what you can. My advice is to do what you can to not spend time with, as much as possible, with the people who are eroding your self-confidence and don't have the same values as you. I think I believed for far too long that if I just accomplished X, then I would be loved and accepted. If I just did Y, if I just got to Z, then people would get it and they would trust me and they'd believe in me. But I don't think that others were ever going to change their mind. And even if they did, the damage is already done. When you take that risk to start off on your own and build your business, it's scary. And you need the time that you need people to believe in you and to support you is in the beginning. And to think that once I make it, then once I make my product, then they'll see how good I am and they'll believe in me. Or once I achieve X number of dollars of income, then they'll believe in me. But then it's empty. Like, you didn't see my value before that point. Be very careful about who you spend your time with. I think this is especially important for people who are neurodiverse because we're already very different. Like neurodiverse people get along with other neurodiverse people pretty well. But, once we're in a mixed environment with neurotypical people, like they just kind of don't get us. So, you got to keep that in mind. I'm not saying you should never hang out with neurotypical people, but just, it's easy to be misunderstood. And it's also very, very easy to try and be what they expect of you. When I turned 40, I'm like, okay, I'm old enough now that I should stop giving a shit what other people think of me. Why has this moment not happened yet? And I think I finally reached that point where it's like, they have different values than me. They want a different life than what I want. I cannot take advice from people who want a life that's different from me. I cannot accept criticism from people who want a different life than what the life that I want, who live a life that's different than the life that I'm living. Because their values are different. They can't see it in the same way as me. They never will, because they value things that are different than what I value. I'm not talking about anyone in particular. I'm just multiple people within my life. I've had this experience. I also suspect that people who are neurodiverse tend to have different values from other people, but I don't know. That's just kind of my thoughts, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. And part of what motivates me too is providing a place where neurodiverse people can feel supported and accepted. Because we all struggle to feel part of a family unit or part of a friend group, or we're just so different, especially for those of us who are autistic and have so many social difficulties. It's hard to find friends, and it's hard to feel accepted and understood. So when you have a community of neurodivergent people, you have a better understanding of each other. And there's been studies on this too. Like people who are neurodiverse click better with other neurodiverse people. Because when we are isolated and we don't have that support, our minds can go to some pretty dark places. So at this point with PaperDemon, I am not profitable. I'm not getting any money out of it yet for me. Like everything that we're earning is being reinvested back into the business, into hiring the game developers that kind of help with the game content, and to our admin that helps to process the game, and any sort of other expense that we have with operating the business. And I hope to someday be earning enough that I can pay myself. But in my mind, money is not the only measurement of success. PaperDemon has had a lot of growth this year. We have more people playing now than I think we ever have. The community is very strong right now and very active, and people really are getting inspired and creating and making friends. And it's doing what it intended to do. And I'm having a positive impact on people's lives. I hear it from the community, how happy they are to be a part of the community and how it's really helped inspire them and overcome art block. And so in my mind, I have already had success. Am I good at business? Maybe not. I still have more work to do there. And I could probably talk forever at length. I should do a separate video on that, on some of the things that I'm kind of working on as an entrepreneur, where I need to really change things and learn and grow as an entrepreneur, because I still have a long way to go. But I do want to also say, in terms of entrepreneurship, one of the things that gets talked about a lot, like I've been watching a lot of videos from a gentleman named Alex Hormozy, who owns acquisition.com. He invests in a lot of companies, helping them grow. And he's got a lot of great business skills that he's been imparting through some of his books, and I've been reading them and stuff. Anyway, I could gush about him all day. But anyway, the point is, where was I going with that? Both he and many other entrepreneurs who've spoken up about like advice and stuff talk about how you have to really work relentlessly. And it is persistence and obsession and passion that helps you to succeed, because a lot of entrepreneurship is persisting. You have to keep going, keep failing over and over and over again. And it is the failures where you learn. So I am learning a lot because I have failed a lot, but I've also had, like I said, I think I'm on the right track, and I'm very optimistic for the future for PaperDemon. But that the way this ties back into autism is, like I said in the beginning, like when you're autistic, you get stuck on something and you just keep going, and it's hard to stop. And that, I think, is a very good quality for entrepreneurship. It could be a double-edged sword, though, because if you're persisting on something that doesn't have the ability to provide an income, then it's also a problem too, right? I think in the case of PaperDemon, like it's clear to me that there is potential there for it to be paying my bills. It's a matter of growing the community and improving some of the monetization models. And I've got lots of ideas and plans for that to help with that. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic. I'm very excited about PaperDemon, in case you haven't noticed. I'm very passionate about it, and I am enjoying it a lot, and the team is great, and the mods are great, and everything. And the community is great. And I'm really proud of what the team and I have accomplished. And especially this year, the improvements that we've made to the website, it's a really nice interface, and I'm very happy with it. Still a lot of new interface improvements that are going to be coming out later this year that are going to be huge quality of life improvements. So, okay, so I should probably like wrap this all up. My main point is still the same. If you are neurodivergent, it's not all bad, okay? You can still succeed being neurodiverse and being disabled. Being disabled doesn't mean that you have no ability. It just means you have some disability, and you may have other really positive traits that can help you succeed. So look for those and lean on those, and accept who you are and your gifts, your unique gifts, because you do have them. I hope this inspires you. If it at least inspires one person, it was worth it. If you want to see more content from me, I actually post more frequently on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts, so feel free to subscribe to me here or follow my TikTok. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. And if you want to check out PaperDemon, I have a link for that in the description below too, if you want to check it out and see what it is. All right, talk to you later. Bye.